Hades. My personal game of the year, and a game with hours upon hours of experiences waiting to be had. Highs and lows, frustration and triumph, this game has them all. It follows Zagreus, son of Hades, as he tries to escape his father's house through the underworld. Along the way, Zagreus will meet new people, grow stronger, and figure out what happened to his mother Persephone. How can a game with such a simple concept possibly contain such a degree of content? Well, it turns out that polishing your game to near perfection can work wonders for you. The creators of Hades, Supergiant Games, are well known for their creations of games with insane replayability. Bastion, Pyre, and Transistor are indie darlings that have touched the hearts of many, the latter two known for their vast content library, and Hades is no different. Not only is it a roguelike, one of the most replayable genres in the market already, but it also has a progression system that allows you to gain new skills and weapons between runs, similar to Dead Cells, another hit indie roguelike. Supergiant originally released the game in early access in December of 2018, and would frequently check in with players and see how they felt about mechanics of the game, the rate of progression, and their interactions with the characters in the game, among other things. Hades was fully released on September 17th, 2020, with a teen ESRB rating and critical acclaim. It was loved by anyone who played it, even those who don't like roguelikes. I personally have a few friends who disliked the idea of roguelikes, but after playing Hades, couldn't stop themselves from playing others. I think that all these reasons combined allow for Hades to spearhead itself as a Game of the Year contender. Mechanically, Hades has a lot going on, but nothing unlike what we've seen in other roguelikes. What it does well is polish and perfect these systems, making all of them feel smooth and seamless. Like mentioned above, it has a long-term progression system, where you can collect gemstones, darkness, keys, nectar, ambrosia, and diamonds, which are all used as different forms of currency for different aspects of the game. Nectar and ambrosia allow Zagreus to interact with the NPC characters, gaining unlocks and developing relationships with each of them. The darkness is used to unlock skills that can help make the game easier, and the keys can be used to unlock different weapons. There is a sword, spear, shield, bow, gauntlets, and railgun. All of these have different attacks and specials, as well as dash strikes, which are some of the combat mechanics of the game, the last two being dash and cast. Cast being a spell you throw out that has different effects depending on the boon you may have on it. Speaking of boons, you can collect boons from the many gods of the game, which can buff your attack, special, and cast, give you added effects such as critical strike or deflect, and a wide variety of other options. There is also the heat system that provides challenges you can add to runs that buff enemies, force you to beat each floor before a certain time, sacrifice boons received between floors, and many more. These mechanics add pressure on you to replay the game over and over if you truly want to see all the game has to offer. Dynamically, this game provides all the tools for a player to play in whichever style they may like. Of course, no run can give you perfect RNG, so it is always fun to try and make the best with what you got, and that makes no two runs the same. However, you can always try to aim for certain boons. If you prefer slower gameplay that allows you to strike from a distance, dealing massive amounts of damage in one hit, then playing railgun or bow and having Artemis boons, which provide critical strike chance, may be the choice for you. If you like shredding through enemies at record speed, then like me, you'll probably love Gauntlets, Athena, and Poseidon, because you will never let go of that dash button, and you really just like not getting hit. This is just two of the multitude of playstyles you can explore in your playthrough of Hades. You can also choose which characters you want Zagreus to enter a relationship with. There's no punishment for being with more than one person, but each character has their associated cutscenes and rewards, so it's worth seeking them all out. All these come together to craft each player's individual experience different from everyone else's. There are two massive aesthetics in the game, and each of them rely on the setting that Zagreus is in at the moment. The aesthetic that give the setting its mood are drawn from the animations, art style, and music. The first aesthetic belongs to that of the hub, Hades Palace. What begins as a somewhat run-down, dirty place where everyone seems depressed or down about their situation is transformed into your home, as you use the aforementioned gemstones and diamonds to buy different decorations, music tracks, and utilities in the palace. You can even just buy your favorite song from the soundtrack just to greet you after every run. Your relationship with the characters in the game grows and evolves, and it may begin to feel warm and comfortable for you. This is matched by the characters' expressions and animations. While most relationships start similar to the relationship between two guys who go to the same class and run into each other outside of class sometimes, it evolves into a relationship more akin to that of two best friends who are willing to share anything and do everything for one another. The animations become more expressive, the dialogue more fluid and flirtatious with some, and the atmosphere becomes more lively, even in a place filled with the dead. However, once you get into the underworld, that sense of warmth is replaced with a hostile yet tense familiarity. While each floor has its own visual aesthetic, the emotional pressure only grows in scale throughout. The music gets more intense, the enemies get more hectic, and the animations become grander and more impactful the farther you get, all leading up to the climactic battle against the final boss of the game. These all give you a sense of severity and danger as you continue to go through a run. But at some point, you might find something strange happening inside of you. You may find yourself at home in the chaos and readily able to deal with what is thrown at you. This doesn't change the intended aesthetic of the game, but rather how you perceive the aesthetic of the game. The main way this game is played in a subversive manner is through speedrunning. There are quite a few categories, but the main focus of the speedrunning community is unseated any heat. The current world record is 6 minutes and 44 seconds, but that is only on the most recent patch. On initial release, the world record was 5 minutes and 56 seconds. As per standard, each one of these speedruns has a video, so you should check them out for yourselves if you'd like. However, I didn't want to try my hand at speedrunning, so I looked into trying to play the game in another subversive way, and man did it feel impossible. Supergiant is really good at predicting how their players are going to act. It's probably thanks to the year plus they put into polishing the game that they are so good for this. Like, for example, if the player beats Meg, one of the NPCs and floor bosses, they can talk to her later and she can attribute your victory thanks to the skills you have purchased with Darkness. So, if you got all stubborn and try to prove her she's wrong by removing all your required skills, instead of the game ignoring your decision, next time you talk to her, she congratulates you on beating her without help. It's the small moments like these that really drive home just how much Supergiant expects the player to try and find ways to trick the system and do something it didn't expect. Instead of relying on the gods, I refused. At every turn, I would try to avoid boons. If I didn't have to fight, I wouldn't. I played the game as relaxed as possible, from Zagreus' perspective. On my end, however, I was stressed. The world I'd become so comfortable in was suddenly scary again. Like when you get over the monster into the bed, only to start reading creepypastas and become terrified of Pokemon and Lavender Town of all things. I wasn't sure if I was truly subverting the game's expectations, but I definitely had subverted my own. If you're asking for my recommendation, of course I would say buy it. Not only are you supporting an indie company who despises the idea of crunch time, one of the biggest talking points in the gaming industry today, you are also just getting a fantastic game. While it is a roguelike, one of the most notoriously frustrating and challenging genres in the market, this game never leaves you feeling upset, because you know that even if you fail, you will always go back home, dust yourself off, and try again. After you talk to everyone. Oh, and turn in that fish. And maybe buy a new banner and mix it up? Wait, is that Thanatos? No, Thanatos, come back, please!